Okay, I think we are recording now. Thank you for joining this webinar. I'm Alice De Ferrari from Fondazione Icons, which is the partner leading the communication activity of the project, of the Urban project. Welcome to the third and last webinar about nature-based solutions implemented in the framework of our project. Today we will have a look of some of the best water interventions implemented by our frontrunner cities, Valladolid in Spain, Izmir in Turkey, and Liverpool in the UK. You can see here the agenda for today. We had a small emergency today as the speaker from Valladolid City Council is sick. Therefore, Raul, our coordinator, will present their presentation. At the end of the presentations, we will have 15 minutes for questions and comments from the audience. Now I will give the floor to Raul. Yes, Raul, you can now start sharing your presentation.
Yes, thank you very much, Alice, for your introduction. Please let me know if you can see my screen, please. It's okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much for attending this this webinar. This is specifically our third webinar about nurturing urbanization, and specifically we are going to discuss today. We are going to show water intervention, the approach of water interventions. Today we have the collaboration of our colleague Xavier Romero from the Granollers City Council, and he is going to explain about the NBS Interlace project. In this occasion, as usual, we are going to show an overall view of the Urban GreenUP project, but mainly through our speakers, we are going to share the most innovative nature-based solutions implemented, but related to water interventions, as I mentioned before, related to water interventions in Granollers, but also in our three frontrunner cities, Valladolid, Izmir, and Liverpool. So let me show, let me explain some aspects, general aspects of the project. The Urban GreenUP project belongs to the Horizon 2020 program, specifically to the topic about demonstration innovative nature-based solutions. The project started the 1st of June of 2022, and now we are involved in the amendment process in order to obtain an additional an extra time to be able to achieve the final result of the project, because the project was affected deeply by the coronavirus pandemic. So we did this extra time. The consortium of the project has 25 partners. We are working with municipalities, RTD entities, technology centers, universities, large industries, also SMEs, non-profit organizations, and also public bodies. And our consortium has 9 nationalities include Spanish, English, Turkish, German people, Italian, Portuguese, Chinese, Vietnamese, and Colombian. Our project, the Urban GreenUP project, aims to demonstrate an innovative methodology to nurturing cities. We are introducing, we are delivering the concept of the nurturing urban plan with our project, and we are going to do this through the nature-based solutions intervention, considering new technologies toward the adaptation of our cities, mainly to fight against climate change. And we need to do this through the identification of the city challenges, the main city challenges related specifically with climate change. We need to involve the key stakeholders. We are going to demonstrate the implementation of a wide, a massive amount of nature-based solutions. We want and we need to evaluate and replicate the project at the European level. And we are going to do this taking into account an interdisciplinary approach, and also we need to involve social science and humanities. Well, in this slide, you can see the the worldwide dimension of the project. As I mentioned before, we have 3 frontrunner cities, Valladolid in Spain, Liverpool in the UK, and Izmir in Turkey. But also we have 5 follower cities, 2 European follower cities, Ludwigsburg in Germany and Mantova in Italy, and 3 non-European follower cities, Medellin in Colombia, Chengdu in China, and finally Binding in Vietnam. The actions or the natural resolutions implemented in the project from the very beginning, we were cataloged or were allocated in 4 sub-demo areas, but also we were distributed, or we reallocated also in 4 categories about renaturing urbanization, water intervention. Today we are going to discuss about this. Also singular green infrastructure. Some of the water interventions are also singular green infrastructure. And finally, non-technical interventions. Okay, these are the impacts foreseen of the project to generate a new global NBS market. We want to generate or to create more than 500 direct jobs. We want to increase the awareness about the renaturalization and also about the natural resolutions. We want to enhance stakeholders and citizen participation through the co-processes such as co-design, co-development, and co-implementation. We want also to generate healthier and greener cities. We want to increase the international cooperation. Finally, we want to improve biodiversity and living conditions in our cities. This is the global approach of our project. And just to finish, to thank our speakers today, Xavier Romero from the Granollers City Council, Juliet Staple from Liverpool City Council, our City Council, sorry, our colleague Sinan Alper from Izmir Metropolitan Municipality, and our colleague from Valladolid, Isabel Sanchez, as Alice mentioned before, is sick. So we are going. I'm going to deliver the presentation from Valladolid. I will try to do my best. So thank you very much, Alice, and everybody. You can take the virtual floor. Okay. You are muted. Sorry.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Raul. Let me remind the audience that if you have questions, you will have time to ask them at the end of the webinar. So our next speaker maybe is joining right now. Someone is joining. Let's wait 1 second. Well, our next speaker should be Javier Romero from Granollers City Council, but he's not here among our speakers, so I will leave the floor. No, he is here, so let's make him speaker. Hello, Javier. Can you hear me? Not sure about this. Well, let's wait for him to be set. And I kindly ask Juliet if she's ready to share her screen and share her presentation about water intervention in Liverpool.
Yes, that's fine. I can start now.
Thank you very much.
Can you just confirm that you can see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, right, thank you. I'll start. Hello, welcome everybody. My name's Juliet Staples. I work at Liverpool City Council on the Urban GreenUP project. And I'm going to talk to you today about some of the water interventions at Liverpool. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes on our urban catchment forestry scheme, 2 minutes or so talking about our ecosystem islands. I'm going to run through some work on our water retention ponds. I'm going to finish with a project that we're currently working on, which is our urban rain garden. So if I start with the urban catchment forestry, this sustainable urban drainage system is based in a main city centre highway. It's a high profile scheme. And what we have are 20 trees, 20 metasequoia or dawn redwood trees planted in the central reservation of this highway scheme. And they're planted in something called silver cells. and they are the black recycled plastic kind of structures that you can see that the trees are surrounded by on the top picture. And the way that the scheme works is that the water from the road either side of this central reservation is channeled into the first of a run of trees, and this is a central run we're looking at here, 8 trees as part of that 20. And the water runs through the trees and through the soil, and then it exits at the far end. And what that does is it slows the flow of the water, so we delay the point at which those flood waters and excess surface waters are actually able to reach the drain, so we avoid competing with other waters from hard surfaces. It also reduces the final discharge volume, because as the water flows through the trees, it's held in the soil is obviously wet, the trees use the water, and so the water that comes out at the far end is much reduced in volume. And also, as the water flows through that soil, the soil acts as a purifier and cleanses some of the water, takes out and breaks down some of the pollutants, so it also improves the water quality. So in addition to that, the trees also are providing shade, cooling, biodiversity, and also hopefully filtering some of the air quality and air pollution from the traffic nearby. I'm just trying to move on. It doesn't want to move on to the next slide. Bear with me. Sorry, won't let me move on.
Try to use the arrow on your keyboard.
I am. That's what I'm using. So it seems to have frozen. Oh, there you go.
Now
we're going to move on to lots of slides now. Okay, lovely. So this is some early data. This is from 8 central tree pits in the middle of that run of trees. And if you look at the graph at the top, the blue line is the inflow, which is representative very much of the rainfall. And you can see there over a couple of days we've had some rainfall and some peaks. But if you look at the brown orange line below, you can see the outflow there, and you can see that that is much reduced. So you can see that it's kind of much smoothed, and there is far less actually running out of the system. Also to the top right, you can see a picture there, and we've got on the left the very oily black water that is running in, coming off the road, and then to the right we've got the slightly lighter brown water that is running out the end of the system, having come through the soil. And we're still looking at our water data analysis here for things like the heavy metals, but visually already the water is looking much better. Also in this system, if you look at the bottom image on the right there, you can see that we've got 2 green markers on that run of 8 central trees. And what that represents is a soil moisture sensor, which is shown as a picture on the bottom left. And then you can see that those soil moisture sensors are monitoring things like temperature, pH, conductivity, oxygen, and we're able to look at the soil where the water's coming in and where the water's going out, and we'll be looking to analyse how the kind of data that will generate to help inform our knowledge about these systems. I'm going to talk now about our island. So the first one is in Sefton Park Lake. It's a freshwater island. It's made of recycled materials, recycled plastic, and natural materials like coconut coir. We have some netting around the edge to deter larger birds from destroying the vegetation before it got established. It's been in place now for about 18 months. It's had many visitors. It's loved very much by the friends of the park. It's inspired other works. We're going to be doing some more of these islands in another city park this summer. And one of the businesses in the park as well has also really liked the island and has now paid some additional money to do some further environmental improvement works elsewhere. The island wasn't really that expensive, but it has provided new habitat. It's increased the pollinators, and we're hoping when we've analysed all the data, we'll also be able to show that it's helped to improve water quality as well. Our second island is in a saltwater location in the docks, and it's a bit more of a pioneering island. It's much larger. It's 63 metres squared, whereas the freshwater one was only 25 metres squared. The island here is again made of similar recycled and sustainable materials. It's away from the navigable channel, so it's in a more sheltered location. We've had a number of visitors, and interestingly, lots and lots of global interest from all around the world. I think because it's quite innovative in what it's doing, and it's kind of the first of its kind. It did cost a little bit more, but there's a lot more to it, as you'll see in a minute. We did need licenses and permissions that took a while, and we did have some initial residents' objections that have now been resolved. So just to have a quick look at the island, above the waterline, there's a number of design features. So we've got these high buoyancy planters, and these are raised areas that are soil filled that enable us to put different types of vegetation on the island. Into the substrate, we've got mixed planting of grasses and flowers, all salt tolerant. And then we've got these rainwater catchment planters, and these are lined so that the rainwater that falls stays in this area, and that allows plants that are more tolerant to less saline conditions to also thrive on the island. And then we have this leca, the lightweight expanded clay aggregate, which is the substrate, and it's like a little tiny ball, thumbnail sized. It's really light, so it's very good for buoyant structures, and it's the holes inside it retain some of the moisture as well. And if we look below the waterline, we've got a couple of submerged reef structures. These are cleaned oyster shells in cages, and we also have a submerged shingle shelf. And the idea of this was to allow an area for fish foraging, or also shelter from predators for some of the aquatic animals. But the island's evolved, and we were there just a couple of weeks ago, and back in summer 2020, we had 23 species that we planted above the island. And this is a winter picture, so it's not looking at its best. But fast forward a year, and last year when we did the survey, we found 16 of those original 23 species. 7 species that were planted had been lost, or else we just weren't able to find them at that point on the island. But interestingly, what we did find was that we'd got 17 new species that had already come in, and they'd been mainly wind-blown plants, and most of them had come from the local area. And also the island is evolving below the waterline. So the 3 September pictures at the top show what the island looked like about 3 to 4 months after it had gone in. So there were lots of colourful incrustations, seaweeds, sponges. The island was acting as a magnet for some very small fish, as you can see there, for shelter, etc. And then just a few weeks ago, we met up with the island people again, and you can see here that picture at the bottom with the boat. That black square in front is actually the cages, the oyster cages, which are absolutely full of mussels. And then the other 2 pictures kind of emphasize that. You can see the amount of mussels now on one of the anchor ropes, and also the mussels on the underside of the island. And that's actually causing the island to sit lower in the water, so we have had to add some more buoyancy. So real kind of changes both on top of the island and under the island. And the next steps, well, one of the things we added on this time was this pottery habitat structure, which has got all sorts of nooks and crannies. And the idea is to suspend this below the island, and again later on to see the kind of animals that might be using it or swimming in it, or what might be resident within it. Moving now to our water retention ponds, we have 2 of these. The top pond at Otter's Pool had a number of problems. Just adjacent to the pond, that top picture there is the entrance to the park, and that was a permanent puddle. It's a low spot in the park, and it was always wet. And then below, the entrance to the actual pond was very silted, very overgrown, and it was very straight. So as a result, when waters did flow down here, they flowed very quickly, and they caused problems downstream. And there was generally a low biodiversity. So what we've done here in this top pond is we've excavated, dredged, widened that channel so that we now have a proper pond, so that as the water flows now, it is automatically slowed and contained and controlled. We've added some additional grids to help with general drainage from that wet entrance area. And we've planted a number of emergent and boggy aquatic plants at the edges, as well as taking the opportunity to put in things like bird and bat boxes. The second pond is at the lower part of the park. So the water that rushes through that top pond, this is where it used to end up. It used to end up forming a really wet mini lake, really, in part of the park there. And you can see that it flowed across the paths and blocked access, and also caused damage to paths. So it was a real problem. Now we've kind of designed a proper designated area for that water. It's become a pond in its own right. We've put in a viewing platform so that it can be used by leisure users and school groups, etc. We've got new paths. We've done quite a bit of planting with emergent aquatics and some boggy species and some woodland planting. And again, we've put in some bird and bat boxes. And since this has gone in, we've not had any issues today in the park with flooding. So hopefully it has solved those problems now. And then finally, the very last slide. This is our last project. It's due to complete in May 2020. The image at the bottom gives you a kind of a view of what it might look like. It's not going to look just like that at the moment, because we're going to have just one tree, and the planting will be a little bit higher and more colourful, but it gives you an idea. The top picture shows kind of a cross section of the rain garden, and it's going to be in 3 parts with 3 beds, and the beds will have different substrate mixes, and there'll be mixes of compost with horticultural grit, and one of them will have some recycled aggregate. The very bottom one, we're going to put a tree in, a white beam sorbus species, and we've got enough soil volume now in that bed to do that with the design. And in each of those beds, we're also going to place one of those soil moisture sensors that I talked about that was present on the very first urban catchment forestry, to see how damp and moist, etc., those beds remain with the different substrates. The main areas that we're going to be testing here, we're going to be looking at water storage capacity in the permavoid, which if you can look at the top picture is the dark grey horizontal line at the bottom, which is the water storage area, and also the water that's stored in the soils. We've predicted, because it's not yet in place, that we will halve the flow reduction. So at the moment, under conditions of heavy rainfall, we think that in this area there's up to 28.5 litres per second going to drain. We think we can halve that. So we're going to be looking at the water quality improvement as well. We think that the plants will help, and the soil will help to filter out some of the pollutants, and the water that does go to drain will be reduced and will be cleaner. And in addition, we've offered an opportunity here to look at how effective the substrate mixes are, looking at things like the soil moisture, the plant tolerances, and of course the pollinator species that we can hopefully attract as well. So a quick overview of some of the projects in Liverpool. My details are there. If anybody's interested or wants to get in touch afterwards, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Juliet. And welcome back to Javier Romero. We can see you. I don't know if we can hear you.
Hello, thank
Yes.
you.
Great.
I have some comments to share my screen because I don't see any option to share my screen.
No, you cannot show your screen now. I have to give you the power to do it. So let's try if you can.
I think I couldn't. I sent you my presentation. Maybe you can share my presentation.
Yes. I need 1 minute to find your presentation.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I can see your presentation now. I will share it for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes, right now. Okay, thank you very much. I'm really grateful to take part in this webinar. Today I'm going to be presenting the Interlace project, which is Horizon 2020 project financed by the European Union, and also some water interventions in my city and GreenUP. Next slide, please. So Interlace aims to empower and equip medium-sized cities in Latin America and Europe in order to rehabilitate and restore urban ecosystems towards being more lively, inclusive, and restorative. We will improve the knowledge of nature-based solutions with the addition of co-production and co-implementation methodologies, and also applying a multidisciplinary approach for bringing more nature to cities, exploring new ways of bringing together natural and social processes. This is going to be an international project that will lay the foundations for exchange and cooperation between European and Latin American cities. Next, please. And we are working on several Interlace products, like the Interlace Hub, which is an online community for sharing how restoring nature in cities. This is a really nice and useful website for general public. We have also some more specific outcomes, like the City Stop Nature, which is an international exchange program based on learning webinars and also engagement events. And also a third example of outcome, it's the Urban Governance Atlas, which is an interactive database which are around 300 good practices on policy instruments and other tools for implementing nature-based solutions in cities. Now we have a call for contributions. Please, if you are interested, feel free to check the Twitter of Interlace and learn how you can contribute to this. Interlace has also 6 city partners, 3 in Latin America, 3 in Europe. One of them is GreenUP, which is my municipality, and we are addressing several socio-environmental challenges. And our main priority is building a city with water resilience. And this is going to be the main focus for the rest of my presentation. So I will present briefly GreenUP, which is a 62,000 inhabitants city that is located 30 kilometers from Barcelona in Catalonia, Spain. And in our geographical area, we suffer from frequent droughts and in some periods even water scarcity. For that reason, as a consequence of this, we're implementing a water governance to avoid that the city live under water stress conditions. Next, please. So the main issue to ensure our water security, and we have found that one of the best solutions is implementing water reuse. We have a long experience on this kind of water reuse projects at local level, and GreenUP City is taking a leadership role to promote these water reuse projects in other cities and also bigger administrations. And we always recommend that in case that you are interested in implementing this water reuse at local level, we always say that this needs to go together with the restoration of the ecosystems, also the recovery of the social use, and also the education and awareness of citizens that need to know what are the benefits of the water reuse. These all 3 requirements are included in our case study. That next, please. That I'm going to explain briefly right now. It's the recovery process of Can Cabañas area. This is a project that started a long time ago. In 1999 was the beginning, because the Can Cabañas area was a very urban area, completely degraded, with a lot of environmental impact due to different human activities. And the most negative thing at that time was that no one from GreenUP identifies this area as a part of the municipality. Next, please. The recovery process started with the building of a system of constructed wetland that was designed by the Polytechnic University of Catalonia. It was an innovative nature-based solutions at that time, because it was a combination of shallow and deep areas with aquatic vegetation in order to remove the water pollutants. Next slide, please. So this is the core element for our water reclaim system that starts in the city and gets the waters to Can Cabañas area. Here you have an image with the whole water cycle. The wastewater from the city go to the wastewater treatment plant, and a small proportion of this water go to the wetland, receiving a natural treatment for 30 to 50 days. And finally, the waters go to the water reclamation plant, which is an hydraulic facility with disinfection and filtration, which is compulsory according to the Spanish legislation on water reuse. And finally, the final phase, the final step, is providing reclaimed water, supplying this reclaimed water to the city for different municipal uses, mainly the irrigation of green spaces. So next, please. So after 20 years, this water reuse project has delivered 3 main benefits. One is the improvement of the water quality and make the reclaimed water available for the city. The second benefit is the creation of a new habitat for biodiversity that, together with the nearby river, is a great fluvial ecosystem. And now both sites are included in the natural touch network. And finally, the third benefit is the creation of a point of special interest for social activities in the peri-urban area, that now it's a social corridor between the city center and the restored peri-urban area. We have around 100 users a day. This is a high proportion of visitors for this area for a medium-sized city like Granollers. We also expect more benefit in the coming years after the relocation of two factories that are placed next to the wetland. Next slide, please. Because we expect that after recently these two enterprises finishes their industrial activity, and we expect that this year it's going to be the demolition of the factories and also the cleaning of the soil. And then we will expand the natural area with 7 hectares more, including the building known as of a second tertiary treatment wetland. And everything is a really successful project for the city. Next slide, please. And this water reuse project has contributed to make other water interventions in other city areas, like the river, where we have several river restoration actions developed for more than 10 years. And also, we are working on future projects. We are looking for getting financing to develop projects to improve the urban permeability and infiltration. And we want to create more natural environments in the streets of the city center neighborhoods. Okay, thank you very much. This is all from Granollers and from the Interlace project.
Thank you very much, Javier. Thank you. I leave the floor to Sinan from Izmir.
Hi.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I see that we are receiving questions. Thank you for writing down them, but we will tackle them at the end of the presentations. Thank you for your patience.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
One screen or double screen? Two screen?
Double screen, and also the dashboard from GoToWebinar.
It's problem. That's problem, I think. Sorry.
It's the same. We can see two presentations. I mean, the second slide. If you want to keep it like, we can see the presentation perfectly. Just close the dashboard.
Sorry?
Can you close the dashboard from GoToWebinar so we see only the presentation? Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah.
If you want, you can also open your webcam. Perfect.
My webcam is the I can see big my webcam, but how can you see? I don't know.
We see perfectly your face
Okay.
and the presentation.
Okay. Hi everybody. I'm Sinan from Izmir Metropolitan Municipality. Thank you, Icons, to give me chance to make this presentation. Today, I will present to you some of NBS's of Urban GreenUP project in the areas of water intervention. And there are 3 interventions in the areas of water interventions. I will summarize you in 10 minutes. And our interventions are grassways and water retention ponds, culvert works for Penirjol stream, and green payments for Penirjol stream. And I will shortly explain the demo sites of the all Urban GreenUP project implementations of Izmir. We choose the city of Karşıyaka and Chile because these cities demonstrate the transition between urban, suburban, and rural areas of the city. At the east part, there is very crowded Karşıyaka city center. We designed a green corridor that connects with the existing corridor and creates a network between rural areas and the city center. At the west part, there is a rural area of Chile, which is also a wetland and using a salt work. This is this area under threat of urbanization. And we have some impacts that they are water quality improvements, flood risk reduction, local biodiversity enhancement, provide habitat for urban wildlife, offering recreational opportunities, increasing water retention capacity and biodiversity, and sustainable urban water management. And the first implementation is grass swales and water retention ponds. Grass swales will be installed in Bio Boulevard as a system that slows down and collects surface runoff directly from impervious surfaces, mainly, and function as a collector for a while until the soil is ready to infiltrate the water again. And this is the map of the implementation area. Izmir Agricultural Development Center are planned in Sasal Natural Life Park area, as you see in the map here. And Bio Boulevard is considered as a part of this project. 557 meters of civil system and Bio Boulevard educational path is installed, as you see in the red here, this dashed area. And this is a section from bioswale. Drainage is considered as a flood prevention infrastructure system in the project area, where extreme rainfall and groundwater is high. Swales will be vegetated with flood tolerant and native plants. They support filtering the rainwater before allowing into the groundwater. And this is final view from grass swales. As you can see, people can sit around the Bio Boulevard. And this is another view from the system and classrooms of Agricultural Development Center, you can see here. And another implementation is culvert works. Culvert works will include an approximately 1.6 kilometer length of Penirjol stream riverbank restoration to transform the unnatural and impermeable riverbank into natured and permeable riverbank. And during construction period, renewable areas determined on the existing concrete surfaces, and then the concrete surfaces cut at the level of the water because of insulation problems, and then the existing soil surfaces compressed and the soil holded by using the Interlace system. Then the riverbank surfaces transformed into green and permeable surfaces. And this is the before and after view from the side surface of the stream. As you see, there is only concrete surfaces, and with the project, the concrete surfaces are taken away, and the Interlace structure is implemented. And this is the whole view of the previous culvert work slide. We left this small concrete surfaces here because in some days of the year, and also we saw during the implementation, the level of the water rise above Interlace, and we create a safety zone here. And this is another before after view from culvert works. The Interlace system will be green with grass and lambs quarter, different type of the vegetation. It's a type of sprawling and all the year green plant that resisted the negative effect of the salty water, because the water is salty here. And this is we from the different part of the stream. We changed the form of the stream here, so we designed riverbank infrastructure again. We used rocks under the Interlace system, so it has been more natural and permeable surfaces at the edge of the riverbank. The another implementation is green payments. The main purpose of the green payments is creating a permeable surface along the riverbank to decrease the urban heat island effect. And you can see the permeable green path along the stream here. And this is another final view from green payments, which is close to pedestrian roads. I have, the presentation was short. I want to show you a video which was created by Icons in the World Forest Day. This is 3 minutes short video here.
We cannot hear the audio of the video.
Sorry, can you repeat?
We cannot hear the audio of the video.
Audio, okay. I don't know what's the problem. If you want, I can cancel the video.
If you have headphones or something that keep the audio off, otherwise you can try again.
I don't have a headphone. I use only the computer microphone and sound.
In any case, the video that you're showing is available on URBAN GreenUP YouTube channel, website, so you can see it.
The people can see from there.
Okay, thank you, Sinan. Let's move to our last presentation by Raul again, who is covering for Valladolid City Council. Raul, we cannot hear you nor see you. Okay, we can see you but not hear you.
No.
Now,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes, you needed to activate my sensor. Okay. I guess that you can see my screen then. Okay. I apologize in advance because, as I mentioned before, our colleague Isabel from Valladolid today is sick, so I'm not in charge. I know the interventions in Valladolid, water interventions, but as you know, I'm not in charge of the specific implementation or specific technical aspects. So I will try to explain the interventions, but apologize if we are not able to explain deeply or there are some lags about technical aspects or something like this. So we will try to do my best, of course. Okay, yeah, this is the regarding the water intervention in Valladolid, as I mentioned in the introduction today. The intervention in cities are allocated in different categories. One of them, natural urbanization, another one, water interventions, and singular green infrastructure. So we have, in the case of Valladolid, we have the sustainable urban drainage systems as a water interventions. Also the natural waste water treatment plant. Some different let me say small or small water interventions related to cycle and pedestrian green paths. Also an electro well and flood park as a singular green infrastructure. Sorry. So this is the structure of the interventions related to water water natural solutions or water interventions in Valladolid. So we are going to show in this order. Regarding the SAD, the Sustainable Urban Drainage Systems, Valladolid has implemented 3 different kinds of SADs: rain gardens, rotation basin, and green pavement, green parking pavements. Rain garden are the green areas of the are located in the green areas near the stadium car parking. Football stadium car parking. The rotation basin is located in a roundabout near to the access to this parking. And finally, we have green parking pavements also near the stadium in these different locations. All of them also are located in different sub-demo areas in the city. So we have in this sense green garden, rotation basin, and green parking pavements. Okay, this is the normal or the usual functionality of a sustainable urban drainage systems. So it's a very simple system to retain and to drainage the water, the rainwater mainly, using also substratum plants to filter the water. So this is a very simple explanation. And this is in this slide we can see the area of natural parking and where the suits will be implemented. In this area, this is the runabout that I mentioned before. There's an area, or the area in which we are going to implement rain garden, and another area to implement rain garden. This is the same. Some details about the roundabout in which we are going to install the SAD, and also the rotation, the rotation basin, and also data regarding the infiltration. So more detail about the rain garden near the stadium. This intervention. This is a very important picture to explain, because it is a real picture about the extreme rain episodes or flood. So this is very important to take into account and to consider, because this is the problem, the real problem. So we are going to implement their rain gardens. In the area of the parking of the stadium, they are going to install parking green pavements with a very high capability to very high infiltration capability, in order to manage the water in a sustainable way. Okay, sorry, because this is not a presentation, and some slides are for me a surprise, the order. Sorry. Now I'm going to explain, or to talk about the cycle pedestrian green paths. It's another nature resolution related to water. I'm going to show what or why. Okay, Valladolid is going to implement this green cycle and pedestrian line. It's a green corridor with 8 kilometers, sorry, of a cycle line, and we are going to we are going to cover all the city with this corridor, and also the extra sorry, or some details about this. This is the reason that we can consider the green corridor also as part of the water intervention. This is because the city is going to use this construction or these bricks to reduce the velocity of cycles, but also to improve the infiltration capacity capability of the path in these areas. So this is as you can see here, this is a cycle, but also a pedestrian lane in order to get the harmony of the use of this lane between people or citizens and cycles. Okay, another intervention was, I say was because finally this intervention was not being implemented, is the natural wastewater treatment plant. This is the area in which it was foreseen to implement this intervention. The design was developed. This intervention had a natural wastewater treatment plant, also an educational path, and finally a green filter area with some tree species with the capability to filter water. But okay, these are the technical specifications of the wastewater treatment plant. But let me comment that finally the city did not the final permission to the Duero river basin to implement these interventions. So finally, this intervention was not implemented. Okay, the electro well is a very simple, a very small, sorry, natural resolutions. Small, I mean, I'm talking about the sites implemented what I would call it from LETAD, with the idea to to implement a new green area in city, but also to obtain or to obtain some electricity through the biochemical processes, because we are going to this is the scheme. Here we have plants, here we have substrate and different things and different elements, and we are going to pass some water with organic matter load. And the idea is through, as I mentioned before, biochemical processes, we are going to filter this water, but also we are going to produce electricity. Okay, this is a demonstrative intervention. Okay, sorry, because we have here more picture about this. This is the structure. I don't know if we have here the maybe. Okay, yeah, this is we have a new blue and green area in the city, around 50 square meter of green area. So this intervention was implemented and is working. And finally, I think that is finally, sorry, the floatable park, the Izmir River in the city. The design was developed again. We have the design of we have selected the area, and this was the structure of the floatable and the structure functionality of the floatable park. But finally, the Duero River Basin didn't allow to the implementation of the intervention, because the geological conditions didn't recommend the implementation. Also because another alternatives in the city were not viable or were not feasible. So finally, this intervention was not also implemented in the city. And sorry for this random maybe presentation, but it was not prepared. Okay, that's all from my side. Let me say that Alicia Villazan is the person in charge of the project Urban GreenUP in Valladolid. So you have here the contact, her contact. So if you have some question, I will try to solve today, of course. But if you have more deep doubts, I think that you can contact her. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Raul, also for this extra presentation. So we have seen all the presentations from our speakers. Now we have time for some questions. There are two ways participants can ask questions. One, you can either use the question box and you can type your question and I will read it out loud. And don't forget, in case, to indicate which city or which person you are addressing the question. Otherwise, you can raise your hand and I will activate your microphone. There is already a question to Juliet. Thank you for your excellent presentation, full of great examples of what can be done beyond the sensor and before and after snapshots. How do you keep track of the evolution of the public perception and attitude towards these NBS projects?
Hello. As part of the project, we've carried out, mainly during the COVID times actually, a number of questionnaires, social questionnaires, to ask people what they thought about the proposed NBS, what their perceptions were, how they perceived their well-being to be. And we've gathered all that data together. What we don't have now, and what would be nice to have, but I'm not sure whether we'll have time to do it, would be, now that most of the interventions are in, and some of them are in late because of the COVID delays, it would be lovely to go back out now and to try and do that kind of survey again and to see how perceptions have possibly changed. So no, I don't have direct figures. We do have some information on public perceptions and what they think, but I think the more we promote it and once the signage goes in, I think we'll get different answers and different responses as we go forward.
Thank you, Juliet. I kindly ask all the speakers to open their camera, so I'm not alone here. And we have another question for to all presenters. What has been the biggest challenges in implementing these NBS solutions? So I think maybe Raul can start, and then Sinan and Javier.
Yeah, I think that in my presentation you could see that the main barriers to implement was the geographical condition, not the technical aspects in the design, but I mean that the technical condition, and finally the perception of some authorities, not in the municipality. I mean that Duero River Basin or something like this, and that we did anticipate the problems in order to obtain the permissions or the permission for the review basin. The main problems for I think in Valladolid were the permissions, some technical conditions adapted to the geographical condition, and finally the tenders procedures and the time, the large time of tendering, sorry, procedures.
Thank you, Raul. Sinan, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I guess for all the cities, the main challenge is the pandemic situations, because it's very difficult for us to manage the time here, and except for in addition to pandemic situations, there are also the many steps in the projects, design process, tendering process, implementation process. So in the small time we have many problems to manage these steps, but at the end of we finished a bit late, but we finished all the implementations.
Thank you, Sinan. Javier, do you want to tell us your experience?
Okay, I think that we don't have great constraints because both the water authorities, also the general public is really happy with our interventions, both in the wetland area, also in the river restoration actions. Maybe the main obstacle is the social acceptance of the water reuse, because it is still considered as black waters, and people don't understand the whole benefits of these kind of projects, especially in a Mediterranean area like in Catalonia. So this is something that we need to change. It's changing a little bit in the last times, but we need to invest more in promoting and disseminating the benefits of water reuse and achieving an awareness that everyone understands that this is a safe water resource, that we have all the water quality that requires the European and the national legislation. And we need to work more on that. It's more the social acceptance that are a technical issue.
Thank you. Juliet, do you want to add your point of view?
Hello, yes. I think in Liverpool there are a number of things that provided big challenges. Procurement was certainly one of them. We were procuring some quite specialised items that the city hadn't delivered before, so that inevitably meant things took longer because we didn't have contracts on framework agreements. Sometimes we had to go out and actively find companies that could deliver what we wanted. And also the COVID situation impacted on that because during the lockdown period, all we were allowed to procure from the City Council was personal protective equipment. So everything had to stop during lockdown. I think we struggled with some contractors as well. I think once we came out of lockdown, contractors were in high demand, and it was very difficult then to try and secure people to deliver works. And some people that we'd previously secured were no longer willing or able to deliver works for the same prices. So that was an issue. COVID itself caused lots of problems and delays in getting people on site and getting approvals. And then, approvals themselves actually took a surprisingly long time to get all the necessary approvals sometimes for some of the more complicated schemes. So you add all that together, and it did cause some delays to the final delivery of the project, but we got there.
Thank you to all the speakers. I have another question from you, from Maria Susana Ortiz. Thank you very much for the useful insight from these case studies. My question goes to all presenters. After the end of the project, how your city councils are planning to keep going with the implementation of greening intervention in a systemic way, and which major barriers can be found to this purpose? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that we can comment something about this, because this is the idea. In the case of the Urban GreenUP project, this is the idea to as I mentioned initially in the presentation, the idea is to include or to introduce in the urban plans the concept of renaturing urban plans. So we want to go beyond the project implementing nature-based solutions, and the idea is through our methodology and project methodology to make easier for the local authorities the process of implementation. And so for the first question, yes, the idea is that the authorities will continue working and implementing nature-based solutions. And the main, from my side, because I'm not working in, I'm not representing a local authority, but from my side, the main barrier or something like this is the tendering processes and as Julia mentioned also before, the contracts, the contracts processes. Okay, I would like to think that the pandemic is finishing, so in the future we will not have the coronavirus pandemic, but maybe we will have another thing. So it's necessary to be prepared to this eventually issues. So this is from my side the perspective for nature-based solutions in the cities. Thank you.
I think that.
Hello, this is. Oh, go on. It's Juliet. I've got some comments, but I'm happy to wait.
So, okay. So very briefly, I think that this kind of projects is a good starting point to promote these nature-based solutions. In both cases, if you have a lot of rain and flooding problems, and of course when you have shortage of water. So this is also a great chance to promote internally in the local authorities, in the administrations, to show politicians, to show other departments that this is the way that we need to continue working on this kind of solutions. This is maybe new now, but it's the future. So it's not only getting the financing, it's also having an impact in others. This is like this kind of European projects need to achieve.
Juliet?
Hello, thank you. Yeah, I think once the project's finished, there's a number of things we're looking to do to make sure that the work continues. So as Raoul mentioned, the RUP, the Renaturing Urban Plan, we're taking that whole principle and we're embedding that at the moment into our public realm strategy. So it's really encouraging to see that in the draft public realm strategy for the city now, they're already looking to include things like rain gardens that just didn't exist in the city before. We're also changing the specification of some of the things that we do. So through the project, the Urban GreenUp project, we've made changes to things like soil volumes for tree pits in cities, and we've developed a mixed orchard that we're replicating across the city. And we've also sought additional funding. So we've currently got access to some green recovery funding to run a small mini Urban GreenUp project where we are actually replicating some of the successful interventions across the city. So we'll be putting more islands in some of the parks. We'll be doing some more tree planting. We've got some more pollinator planting under that. So all the lessons learned from the Urban GreenUp will be captured in future projects going forward where they're replicated, and also captured into our policy, things like the public realm strategy. So yes, I'm optimistic that the work won't be lost and it will continue.
Thank you very much, Juliet. I believe there is another, no, there was a hand raised, so Elaine can speak, I believe. Elaine, can you open your microphone?
Okay. Is that
Great.
okay? Can you hear me? Okay. Yes. Hi. We were in Liverpool, so we're a Liverpool community. That's Liverpool's Seroptimists, and we were involved in original awareness training, awareness raising, and also data collection with the Liverpool City Council. And so we felt we made a contribution, and we would like to continue to making maybe just these small contributions that we can do. Maybe we don't need to apply for money, as Urban GreenUp has its own funding. But is there anything that we can continue to do to create nature-based solutions around our actual communities in a small way? Would that be a consideration that you might be looking at, as you've reported, say previously, about maybe objections to nature-based solutions, and now they're more acceptable? So how can we help?
Is it okay if I answer this, because it's Liverpool? Yes, you're right. The Seroptimists did help us. They worked very closely with the university at the beginning of the Urban GreenUp project on a number of data collection programs. And we actually have a data analysis day next week where we're bringing together a lot of our data as a project to bring it together, and I'm sure that will be tabled there. I think there's quite a lot that your organisation can do generally. There's obviously engagement, promotion, awareness raising, all those things, but also in terms of practical things and implementing more nature-based solutions across the city. There are, for example, I think a call is out at the moment from the Liverpool City region, and there's opportunities to win up to bid for up to £500 worth of funding for local organisations to deliver their own nature-based solutions, whether it's improving a small area on their doorstep or planting some trees with partners, for example. So I think if you wanted to get in touch with me afterwards, then we could talk about opportunities, and I can signpost you to places where you can, if you've got time and the willingness, you can help to make a difference, and that would be great.
Great, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for our speakers for this session. I believe that our time is finished. I would like to thank the speakers for their presentation, their contributions, and also to thank the audience for taking the time to be here today with us. The webinar will be available on our YouTube channel together with the 2 previous ones, so don't miss the registration, the recording. If there are no further questions, I can say goodbye to everyone and thank again everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you from the audience. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.